Kondratiev Waves, the 60-year economic supercycle explained.
Hello, welcome to the Wealth Starting Line. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Have you ever felt like history isn't just random? Like it moves in these huge, predictable rhythms, almost as if it's following some kind of hidden blueprint? Well, today, we're diving into a theory that says exactly that. It's called the Kondratiev Wave, and it is absolutely fascinating.
Making a fortune in life depends on the Kondratiev Wave. Whoa, that is a bold claim, right? It comes from the late economist Zhu Jintao. So what's the deal here? Is this just some dusty old academic theory? Or could understanding these massive 60-year tides in the global economy really be the key to our financial success? Let's find out. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to tackle that big idea, how this wave connects to personal fortune. Then we'll decode this 60-year cycle itself. After that, we'll take a trip through the 4 historical waves that have already happened, figure out what makes this whole thing tick, and then, this is the big one, pinpoint where we are right now. And finally, we'll look ahead and talk about how to maybe ride the next wave. So back to that idea of fortune. How on earth can a giant, decades-long economic wave affect our lives, our fortunes? Well, the theory goes that if you understand what economic season you're in, are we in a boom, a bust, or some kind of transition, you can make way better decisions. We're talking careers, investments, the whole shebang. It's really about knowing when to plant, when to harvest, and when to brace for winter. Okay, so that's the why. But what is this thing? What exactly is this powerful economic cycle? Let's really break it down. All right, section 2. Let's get into the nuts and bolts and decode the Kondratiev Wave. We're going to try and uncover the fundamental rhythm that's beating just beneath all the noise of the daily headlines. So the Kondratiev Wave, or K-Wave for short, is this long-term economic cycle that lasts about 50 to 60 years. It was discovered way back in 1926 by a Russian economist, Nikolai Kondratiev. And get this, he analyzed 140 years of data from the UK, France, and the US, and he found this surprisingly regular pattern, a hidden rhythm in how capitalist economies work. Honestly, the best way to wrap your head around the K-Wave is to think of it just like the 4 seasons of an economy. It's a perfect analogy. Every single cycle moves through a spring of recovery, a summer of prosperity, an autumn of recession, and then a winter of depression, right before a new spring begins. So let's walk through these seasons together. First up, spring. This is the recovery phase, where brand new technologies pop up, sparking reinvestment and growth. Then comes summer, the peak of prosperity. Everything's booming, rapid expansion, everyone's optimistic. But then, autumn arrives, bringing recession. Markets get saturated, things get overbuilt, and growth starts to slow down. And finally, you have winter. This is a period of depression, chaos, and adjustment. But it's crucial because it clears the deck for the next wave of innovation to emerge. And then, the whole cycle starts all over again. Okay, so is this just a neat theory, or is there real historical evidence to back it up? Well, proponents of the theory point to 4 very distinct cycles that have played out since the Industrial Revolution. Let's take a look at how this pattern is actually unfolded on the world stage. The first wave kicked off around 1800, right at the dawn of the Industrial Age. The second started around 1860, and that brought us steel and railways. The third wave, from 1920, was the age of electricity and mass production. And the fourth wave, our current wave, began around 1980 with the information revolution. You can see the pattern, right? Each wave brought a massive technological revolution and a big shift in global power. Let's zoom in on that first wave, from roughly 1800 to 1860. This was the Industrial Revolution, and it was all powered by the steam engine and textiles. The dominant power? No surprise, it was Great Britain, building a global empire. And you had Germany and France emerging as the main challengers. Next up, the second wave, from about 1860 to 1920. This was the age of steel and transport. Think massive railways connecting continents, steel changing everything, and the very first automobiles. Great Britain was still on top, but a rapidly industrializing United States was seriously starting to rise as a major challenger. Okay, now the third wave, which ran from 1920 to 1980. This one was all about electricity and heavy chemicals. It's what led to mass production and the modern consumer society we know. And after 2 world wars, it was pretty clear. The US was the new dominant global power. And who was the challenger? Japan, with its incredible post-war manufacturing and electronics boom. And that brings us right up to our current wave, the information age. It kicked off around 1980. This entire era has been driven by electronics, semiconductors, and information technology.
The dominant power has, of course, been the United States. And the main challenger in this wave? China. So we've seen the pattern. It's pretty compelling, right? But what's the engine? What's actually driving these massive 60-year cycles of boom and bust? Well, it turns out it's a combination of some really powerful forces. There are a few key things that power the K-wave. First and foremost, you've got technological innovation. The economist Joseph Schumpeter had a great name for it: creative disruption. Basically, new inventions come along that just completely disrupt and replace old industries. Second, you have big price fluctuations, especially in things like energy and raw materials. That can fuel a boom or trigger a serious slowdown. Third, new markets opening up. Think about China entering the global economy. That creates massive new opportunities. And finally, big shifts in monetary systems, like when the world moved off the gold standard. That can totally change the way capital flows around the globe. Okay, so where are we now? This is the million-dollar question, right? After digging into the theory and its history, let's see what the Kondratiev Wave model says about our current moment.
According to the theory, we are smack dab in the winter of the fourth wave. And this isn't just a regular economic slowdown. It's the depression and adjustment phase. That's often marked by things we see today: slowing growth, a lot of financial instability, and rising social and political tension. It's what happens when the old ways of doing things just don't work anymore, and the promise of the information age starts delivering diminishing returns.
And this really illustrates the classic dynamic of this phase. On one side, you have the United States, the leader of the information wave, which is now facing a structural slowdown. And on the other side, you have China, which has risen as the major challenger by integrating into that global system. Now, it's really important to say this isn't a political judgment, it's just a typical feature you see in a K-wave transition period.
But here's the thing: winter isn't the end. In fact, it's probably the most crucial period for the future, because every single K-wave winter contains the seeds of the next spring. So let's look ahead to what might be next.
And this, right here, is the key takeaway of this whole thing. The winter phase, with all its turmoil and recessions, isn't just an ending. It's actually fertile ground. It's where the breakthroughs happen that are going to power the next 60-year cycle. The pain of winter is what forces that creative destruction we talked about, the kind you need for a new spring to begin. So, this leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? The fifth wave is coming. What technology is going to power it? Will it be AI, biotech, maybe clean energy, or something we haven't even thought of yet? And who is going to lead that next great economic boom? The K-wave doesn't give us the answers, but it gives us an incredibly powerful framework for asking the right questions. So, what do you think comes next?
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you next time.